Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modular Online Training Program conducted by CIMA Regional Training Center in Vietnam. My name is Chiu Lu, Program Officer at the International Development Department of CIMA RETRAC, and I will be the moderator of today's section. Let me start by giving you some brief information about our Modular Online Training Program. As part of our mission of assisting CIMA member countries, starting in May 2021 and continuing through February 2022, 16 online lectures were presented to about 1,000 participants who are school leaders, managers, administrators, and teachers in the region. In March 2022, CIMA RETRAC has designed 2 new modules with 4 topics for each module for the Modular Online Training Program from March to June, namely Teaching and Learning Module and Classroom Management Module. Covered this morning will be Module 5 on Teaching and Learning with the 2 topics, Culturally Relevant Teaching and Digital Citizenship for Students. Before we start, I would like to mention a little housekeeping rule. Our webinar is video recorded, so please watch and listen to the video. The video will be less than 30 minutes. If you have any questions during the video, kindly type them into the chat box. After the video, we will have some time for questions and answers with our trainer, Dr. Anita. About Dr. Anita Capano-Oblina, she obtained her doctorate degree in Education Planning and Management in the Philippines and had been in the field of education and engaged in administrative functions back in the Philippines. She was the assistant to the academic vice president at Xavier University in 2014 and dean of faculty and academic affairs at FINMA Cagayan de Oro College from 2015 to 2017. In 2018, she came back to CIMA RETRAC as a senior education specialist and has been working as a curriculum developer, instructional materials designer, trainer, researcher, and lecturer. She is very passionate about advancing the leadership and management skills of the school leaders, managers, administrators, and teachers in Southeast Asia. Before turning over to our presenter to have some words with you, I would like to request everyone to turn on your camera for a photo shoot.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
So we will have 3 shots. For the first shot, for our second shot, and for our final shot. Thank you very much, everyone, for your cooperation. And now, Dr. Anita will have some words with you.
Good morning.
Good morning. And thank you so much for your kind introduction, Ms. Chow. And I would like to welcome heartily, our participants who come from the 9 Southeast Asian member countries, from Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos PDR, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and Vietnam. I am really very delighted for joining us today. As already said, this is a video recorded, and we would like you to watch the video. And then I am looking forward for our sharing of thoughts, ideas, and insights, and perhaps questions that you would like to ask after watching the video. So at this point in time, we are going to watch the video. The first topic, culturally relevant teaching. Okay?
Hi everyone, welcome to Module 5's final 2 topics, Topic 19, Culturally Relevant Teaching, and Topic 20, Digital Citizenship for students. We'll begin with topic 19, culturally relevant teaching. We will examine 3 key points in detail as follows. What is culturally relevant teaching? What are the components of culturally relevant teaching and how to apply them in the classroom? And what are the practice areas for culturally relevant teaching and strategies for culturally relevant teaching? What is culturally relevant teaching? To some of you who attended the previous webinar on culturally responsive teaching, you might be wondering about the difference between culturally responsive teaching and culturally relevant teaching. Collectively, culturally relevant teaching and culturally responsive teaching have many features in common and often are used interchangeably, but they have a distinct difference. Culturally responsive teaching, made popular by Geneva Gay in 2000, focuses on building the learning capacity of the individual student from different ethnic, cultural, or linguistic backgrounds by creating a learning environment conducive to all students regardless of color, belief, and socio-economic status. Whereas culturally relevant teaching was made popular by Gloria Ladson-Billings in the early 1990s. Gloria Ladson-Billings defines the concept of culturally relevant teaching as a pedagogy that empowers students intellectually, socially, emotionally, and politically by using cultural reference to impart knowledge, skills, and attitudes. This approach to teaching involves teachers building a bridge from students' experience at home to their experience in the classroom, bringing elements into their daily learning at school which validate their culture and make lessons hit home because of those connections. Culturally relevant pedagogy is a framework for teaching that emphasizes the importance of incorporating and valuing all learners' knowledge, ways of learning, and heritage. It promotes critical consciousness in teachers and learners. It promotes the development of learners' critical consciousness of the world and encourages them to ask questions about ethics, power, privilege, and social justice. Culturally relevant pedagogy emphasizes opportunities to address issues that are important to learners and their communities. Ladson-Billings describes this approach as a way that will empower students to excel because the way in which they experience the curriculum makes sense in the context of their lives and helps them to develop confidence as learners. Ladson-Billings found that students were put more at risk for academic failure if they did not see themselves or their culture represented in the classroom or felt they had to assume another culture, that of their teachers, to be able to fit in and excel in school. Ladson-Billings specified the components of culturally relevant teaching which teachers can apply in their classrooms to make learning relevant to all students, regardless of backgrounds and culture. This brings us to the second key point of my presentation. What are the components of culturally relevant teaching and how to apply them in the classroom? Ladson-Billings contends that culturally relevant pedagogy has 3 components. 1. Students must experience academic success. 2. Students must develop and maintain cultural competence. And 3. Students must develop a socio-political consciousness through which they challenge the status quo of the current social order. Academic success. Academic success, the first component, acknowledges that the primary function of a teacher's role is to cultivate the minds of their students. It includes but is not limited to objective measures of achievement. It is focused on teaching and learning rather than discipline. It assumes that children already know stuff and that it is the teacher's job to scaffold their students' knowledge. Regardless of social inequities, students must be provided with the tools to achieve academic proficiency. Furthermore, in order to participate in a democratic society, students need to develop skills in literacy and numeracy and to expand their technological, social, and political abilities. Ladson Billings maintains that culturally relevant teaching requires the teachers attend to students' academic needs, not merely make them feel good, and that it is imperative to have students choose academic excellence. Culturally relevant teachers hold high and transparent academic expectations and meet students where they are. They know the content, they know the learner, and they know how to teach the content to the learner. They think deeply about what they teach, why they are teaching it, and how they are going to teach it based on who their students are as people and as learners. By focusing on the importance of academic success in the world, teacher can foster a desire for intellectual achievement. How to use it in the classroom? Focus a great deal of positive attention on the groups in the class that have the power to influence their peers. Set high expectations for all students. It has shown to be an effective strategy for developing aspirations for academic success. Create opportunities for students to experience academic success by starting with small goals and scaffolding upon student knowledge. Once students realize they can achieve academic success, they may feel that they are taking less of a risk with a more challenging task. Cultural competence. Cultural competence suggests that teachers understand that they, as well as their students, are cultural beings. They appreciate and understand students' culture and use them as the basis and foundation. The teaching and learning process is premised. Culturally, competence requires that teachers understand culture and its role in education, that they take responsibility for learning about their students' culture and community, and that they interrogate their own identity, culture, biases, and privilege to critically assess and strengthen their instructional practice. When cultural competence is playing out as it should, the classroom can be described as full of mirrors and windows. Students see themselves reflected in the classroom mirrors and have opportunities to learn more about and see into the lived experiences of others' windows. Culturally relevant teachers provide students with a curriculum that builds on their prior knowledge and cultural experiences. How to use it in the classroom? Provide for the development and maintenance of cultural competence to involve parents in the classroom. Find out the talents and gifts of parents and invite them into the classroom as in-residence experts in areas in which you may not be that skilled or knowledgeable. Create research opportunities for students to learn more about the topics that are familiar and important to their culture, using the skills provided by the parent or community members volunteering in the classroom. Another way of facilitating cultural competence is to encourage students to use their home language while they acquire the secondary discourse of standard English. By teaching students how to switch back and forth between their home dialect and the standard form of English, you can provide them with an invaluable skill that will help them become more successful in school and the world beyond. And social-political consciousness. Social-political consciousness presumes that knowledge is constructed and used toward the eradication of injustice. It understands that the role of the teacher and the learner is never neutral, but situated socioculturally, socio-historically, and socio-politically. Culturally relevant teaching seeks to develop socio-political consciousness, which includes a teacher's obligation to find ways for students to recognize, understand, and critique current and social inequalities. Social-political consciousness begins when teachers recognizing social-political issues of race, class, and gender in themselves, and understanding the causes before incorporating these issues in their teaching. How to use it in the classroom? Actively educate yourself and your students on the personal and social-political issues that impact your students' communities, and the world, and that you incorporate this into your teaching. Encourage students to think about and consistently question why things are the way they are, and encourage students to see themselves as agents of social change and transformation. Empower students to think and act in ways that challenge the inequitable status quo among people, within communities, and in society at large. For example, instead of focusing on the fact that textbooks are out of date and unrepresented of many of the cultural backgrounds of the students in the classroom, critique the knowledge represented in the textbooks and the system of inequitable funding. You and your students write letters to the editors of local newspapers, informing the community of the scarcity of adequate materials and resources. You can also bring in articles and resources that represent the knowledge that supplements that which is presented by the textbook. Those are the components of culturally relevant teaching and ways to apply them in the classroom. Keeping them in mind, let's move on to the last key point of my presentation. What are the practice areas for culturally relevant teaching and strategies for culturally relevant teaching? The four practice areas of culturally relevant teaching include awareness, learning partnerships, information processing, and community building. Awareness. This is the inside-out work for teachers as they examine their own social-political lens and an understanding of all three levels of culture: surface, artifacts, shell, values and behavior, and deep, assumptions and beliefs, and how their interpretation and evaluation of students is impacted. Learning partnerships. Creating learning partnerships is all about building trust with students by reducing stress from possible stereotype threats and helping create a positive sense of self. The human brain is wired for connection and gives educators an advantage in establishing social-emotional partnerships for deeper learning. Information processing. This practice focuses on building instruction and delivering content in a manner congruent with how the brain learns and with the cultural models that students bring with them, so students can engage in deeper, more complex learning. And community building. Establishing a safe, scholarly environment that builds a learning community where students feel supported by one another, create students who are ready to engage and learn. When these practice areas, awareness, learning partnerships, information processing, and community building are used in unison, they create the social, emotional, and cognitive conditions that allow students to become actively engaged with rigorous content and instruction. This activity allows educators time to reflect on the level of rigor in their classrooms. Keeping this in mind, it's critical to discuss some culturally relevant teaching strategies. They are as follows. model respectful language behavior and discussion habits, make learning contextual, activate students' prior knowledge, encourage students to leverage their cultural capital, reconsider your classroom setup, build relationships, discuss social and political issues, tap into students' cultural capital, and incorporate popular culture. Model respectful language behavior and discussion habits. Ask all students how to properly pronounce their names and facilitate practice by all. Invite students to identify their cultural or ethnic identity rather than doing so for them on the basis of appearance, name, among others. Invite students to help you develop classroom rules and habits for discussion, including that each of us is accountable for respectful behavior. We should respect all viewpoints and that we can disagree respectfully. Never assume a student's feelings. Provide opportunities for students to express themselves and model active listening. Be honest about your own feelings and explicitly introduce topics by sharing why you think it is important. Treat all students as individuals, not as representatives of any group with which they may or may not identify. Make learning contextual. Make the lessons from the curriculum to students' social communities more contextual and relevant. Invite their expertise and leadership when reading literature that arises from or features cultures with which students are familiar, but don't expect them to be representatives. Activate students' prior knowledge. Students enter in the classroom with their own diverse experiences. Encourage students to draw on prior knowledge to contribute to group discussions. This might include asking students what they know about a particular concept and connecting them to the lessons you're introducing. Encourage students to leverage their cultural capital. Build personal and class knowledge of cultural expectations, rituals for courtesy, and symbols. Be mindful to not make students feel that they need to speak for the entire culture by putting them on the spot. Encourage all students to have a voice in the classroom. It is important to find ways to achieve each student's experiences, each cultural capital. Reconsider your classroom setup. One way to communicate to students that they matter is to ensure they are reflected in the classroom environment. Ask yourself, are authors of different races visible in the classroom? Do you have quotes on your walls from a diverse group of leaders? Are different languages and countries displayed? Are people with disabilities seen? Do you take inventory of posters and classroom displays? Are your desks promoting collaboration? How long do students sit in their assigned seats? Do you teach them how to choose seats that are best for their learning styles and needs? You know you can separate them from their friends if they become a distraction. Build relationships. Work to build relationships with your students to ensure they feel respected, valued, and seen for who they are. Building relationships helps to build community within a classroom and within each other. Connecting to students as people is vital to culturally relevant teaching. Learning about students' interests, likes, dislikes, family members, and aspirations are all ways to build relationships. And remember to share about yourself. The best relationships are mutual, built on transparency and trust. Discuss social and political issues. Help students discuss and learn about current issues that are germane to them, including immigration, community police relations, environmental concerns, women's rights, and race relations. Build class knowledge about issues, culture, and social justice through readings, media, and by inviting school and community leaders or outside experts to share information and perspectives. The goal is not to tell students what to think, but to teach them how to become informed and engaged in respectful dialogue. Tap students' cultural capital. Encourage students to share their cultural knowledge, including holidays, important words for greetings, and so on. If students speak more than one language, allow them to use languages other than English, and when possible, and without putting them on the spot, to share vocabulary and incorporate popular culture. Connect the music, movies, and other media students are interested into the content of the classroom. For some students, video games, fashion, or sports are automatic ways to grab their attention and connect to their interests. In classrooms where culturally relevant teaching is practiced, we often see an increase in students' effort and a rise in participation. Most importantly, we see students grow as learners. Our ultimate goal is to create cultural democracies in our classrooms where students are continually interacting with a wide range of backgrounds, experiences, and realities, and where every student feels respected, important, and proud. I have just finished discussing the main points of topic 19, culturally relevant teaching. As I finish my presentation, I'd like to leave you with a few thoughts. Culturally relevant teaching centers students' culture in teaching practice through three primary approaches: academic success, cultural competence, and socio-political consciousness. In so doing, the culturally relevant teachers are mindful of the four practice areas: awareness, learning partnerships, information processing, and community building, and apply culturally relevant teaching strategies. The trick of culturally relevant teaching is to get students to choose academic excellence. Thank you for your participation.
We have just finished watching the video recorded lecture. And now I would like to hand over the microphone over to Ms. Chow for our question and answer portion.
As I firstly, I would like to say your topic is very valuable topic, but it is not audio is not clear. It is
Oh.
it's very difficult for me.
Hmm.
Thank you.
I'm really very sorry to hear that from you. Sorry for that inconvenience.
We'll take note of that in our future videos. Thank you very much. Yes, and now, Dr. Anita, I see that in the chat box, we are currently having some inputs and discussions from our participants regarding our video.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I have seen it. I guess we have one from Min L. Kine. Am I right? This is the first, I would say, comment. It says here, culturally relevant teachers can understand the stereotype roles of teaching learning environment in some regions according to their own tradition and culture. I definitely agree with you about this observation and about this insight. And that's really true. We have our own stereotype roles of teaching learning in our own region, in our own context. And I definitely agree with you with that. However, I would like to add, that because teaching and learning is dynamic, moving, and advancing, we cannot just be left behind. We can correct the practices and the beliefs that are no longer relevant to the current time. Because when we speak of stereotyping, we are perhaps trying to hold on to that, tradition. But we keep what are the bests, because there are always bests that we have been practicing, and I definitely agree with that. Then we can correct what might no longer be relevant in the current context, in the current teaching learning environment. I hope I have given my insight, and you can always make a follow-up, if you would like. And okay, from LBCU, Abigail Remo, this tips really good for a cultural relevant teaching environment. Thank you so much for your observation and your insight about the different tips that I had just shared with you in the video. And again, we have here from Min El Kain. There are 135 national races in Myanmar. Now you're from Myanmar. My regards to Myanmar. And so in some regions, state government authorities are responsible for review and revise curriculum according to their own tradition, language, and culture. That's really quite challenging because there are like over 100 national races to be given attention and addressed regarding the curriculum. However, I suppose that in the curriculum, whatever races would that be that is within the context of Myanmar, will be designed making that curriculum relevant, to the context where students are. And again, when we speak of culturally relevant teaching, all from curriculum, instruction, teaching strategies, and even assessments are really, embracing, are really based on the culture and the context of our learners. We cannot teach curriculum from US or UK and bring them to them, We have to localize the curriculum to make that curriculum meaningful to our students, so they would be able to appreciate and learn because they can connect what we are saying to their own context and environment and to the community and to the country in general. But that does not also mean that we prohibit them. We won't tell them what's happening outside. We have to look at the global and see and connect it to the local to make that really interesting and effective and meaningful for our students. I hope I have shared with you my thoughts. Now we have here from Rochelle Aslit. Oh my God. Okay, about the soft copy, I think, that will be provided. I know Ms. Chow will do that. From Kin Thanwin. Okay, very good presentation for me. Thank you so much. It is important for me because we are living together with many ethnic groups. So we have to learn many strategies to build harmonious society. I'm very thankful that you are open to learn more and that you will be able to enrich your teaching learning process to your students. Thank you so much, Kim and Win. Okay. Yeah, thank you to Mr. Emmanuel Yao. Yeah, definitely. Culturally relevant education is dynamic. It is moving. It is advancing. Because, culture is changing. Kind of. Now we are aware of that, especially we are now in the pandemic condition and lots of change. And that hopefully we can as well incorporate what's happening, within our own context to the learning process of our students. We can incorporate that in the lesson that we are teaching. That depends on the topic you are dealing with. That is why we need to be aware, that's the practice areas of culturally relevant teaching. Awareness. We're aware of what's happening around us, what's happening in the community and in the larger society, and what's happening in my classroom. What's happening to my students? What's happening to me? That's awareness. And then we have to process. That's information processing, and all this, so that we will be able to become culturally relevant teachers. Okay, thank you to Miss Maria Luana Del Mundo for appreciating the presentation. Okay, we have here from Dr. Marites Cruz. What about imposing English language for teaching learning process? Yeah, that's quite challenging. I understand, like in the Philippines, for example, we are using English as our instruction of teaching. And that we impose our students to learn English language, that they can speak, write, communicate, and listen to English language. But the question is, does that mean we are not relevant culturally to our students? That would depend on the purpose. I guess when we impose English language for teaching learning process, what we are going to imply is that students will be able to be proficient to use the global language because we are connected globally. Anytime students can meet people outside the country, and the only way to articulate themselves is to use the English language. And that is quite really very relevant, especially in today's time. However, we don't prohibit our students. We don't ignore. I would say, we don't stop. However, we continue teaching our own language to our students. To be relevant is to be able to know, the language of our students and use that. In one of the slides in my presentation, I mentioned that it would be good for our students to learn and appreciate their culture if we are able to switch back and forth the language of our students and the English language, so that they will appreciate their own language, and at the same time, they will also be able to appreciate the English language. Okay, so I hope that imposing English language for teaching learning process won't make us less culturally relevant teachers, but it will become that, however, it will make us better culturally relevant teachers. I hope I have shared my thoughts, and you can always make a follow-up. And we have here from Himarani. Same goes to the context of Malaysia for sharing, really helpful for me. Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, thanks for your concise presentation. Thank you to Regina Rose Rigidor. And from Andres Matila, I appreciate your presentation, thus it follows the concept of contextualizing, a contextualization and localization process. I definitely agree with you. We've got to have that. Now, we are, as I mentioned repeatedly, we are now in the global education, I suppose, that we are connecting to outside our classrooms. We are connecting either locally, nationally, or globally. So it is quite important, and I guess it's critical, that we look at the global, we use the global information, the global aspects, the global topics, and make it localized, make it apparent to our own culture, so that there is a connection. Students would be able to see, the connection between what's happening outside and what's happening inside in their own context. So we have to localize the global and globalize the local in the teaching learning process. That's being culturally relevant teachers. Now we have here from Lizette Ong. In the Philippines educational system, there is the mother tongue-based education being practiced in the primary grades. But when students go to the higher level of the subjects being taught in English, proves to be difficult since there is a little number of non-readers despite using contextualized, localized resources and materials. That is a big challenge. When there is this change, of curriculum, I understand. It will be quite challenging for students up there in the higher levels to teach the subjects taught in English, because students in the primary levels are using the mother tongue. When we speak of the mother tongue, we are referring to different languages. So it depends on the region. It depends on what the language, that region has. And the challenge is, how would my students be able to understand me now? I'm using English, and this is a compulsory that I'm using English in my instruction, the higher level. Now, I guess to start with that, you can use like switching from the mother tongue to English. But again, another challenge would be teachers are not well versed of the mother tongue of the students. Say, for example, a classroom has 50 students, and these students are coming from different ethnic languages or different languages within the country. And now I am using English in my instruction. How would that be possible to let these students understand what I am talking? And you see, I am using a curriculum and I have to follow this. I have to finish this subject within this period, within this span of time. And another topic, another span of time. I will be delayed. But look at that. If that's the case, if you will only be hurrying up because of the curriculum and leaving out students do not understand and could not relate to the subject. No, teaching and learning is a failure. It is indeed a failure. Nothing happens. So that must be done. That would now be using the creativity and resourcefulness of the teacher on how would you address that matter. I suppose there
Yes, kindly wait for a few minutes as we're having some connection issue from Dr. Anita's end. Thank you very much.
Well, pardon, Chapitanata Young from Thailand. I have some question. If like we are all finished or models, each model, do we have some or slide share to all of us for review for like this?
Yes, so after each section, we will post the links for the materials, having the video as well as the PowerPoint slides onto our website, and we will inform you the link by the end of this section.
Good morning, ma'am. Chow Lu.
Yes. Good
Can
morning.
yes, ma'am. Can we have the presentation directly to our email ad, or we'll have to have the video in your link?
Yes, so we will post the link on the website so that everyone can have access to the materials, all the videos and the PowerPoint files.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As we're waiting for Dr. Anita to reconnect to our Zoom link, we will have a short break in 10 minutes and we will be back at 10 a.m. Thank you very much. participants for a short break. Thank you for your understanding. Yes, Dr. Anita, is you with us now?
Okay, I'm come back. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. I lost my connection. So it is just very, I would say, really inconvenient on our part. And I'd like to come back to the question that we had just discussed and left out. I guess that was about
Yes, I have copied the question and sent it to you in the chat box, Dr. Anita. Yes, slightly wait for a few more moments as we're having a big storm here in Ho Chi Minh City. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your understanding. So before waiting for Dr. Anita to come back, and we'll continue to have the discussion for the topic 19, I will now share with you the video for topic 20. For that, we can watch in advance, and then we can have the discussion for both the topic 19 and 20. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Let us now explore topic 20, digital citizenship for students. The last topic in Module 5, Teaching and Learning module. We're going to cover the following key points. What is digital citizenship for students? Why do we teach digital citizenship and how do we teach it? And what are the essential tips to enhance digital citizenship? What is digital citizenship for students? In general, digital citizenship can be defined as the norms of appropriate, responsible behavior when using technology. It encompasses digital literacy, ethics, etiquette, online safety, norms, rights, culture, and more. A digital citizen is one who knows what is right and wrong, exhibits intelligent technology behavior, and makes good choices when using technology. A digital citizen is someone who has an identity on the internet. Being a digital citizen means that you are part of a digital community, and therefore, you must exercise self-awareness in addition to awareness of others in the community. Digital citizenship is accompanied by many rights and responsibilities which are intended to protect you as well as everyone else with whom you interact. As in any society, it is expected that digital citizens act in a certain way according to accepted norms rules, and laws. Digital citizenship for students is all about teaching them how to be good stewards of the digital world. Most of today's students are entirely comfortable with technology, but are they using it appropriately? Though they understand their rights and responsibilities in digital society, a right is something you're allowed to do. A responsibility is something you have to or should do. Okay, digital rights. Each has the rights to access and use computers and or other electronic devices, to access and use digital content, to create and share digital media, to privacy in digital communities, to express ideas and opinions freely, and to report anyone or anything that seems inappropriate. Okay, digital responsibilities. Each has the responsibility to use appropriate language and behavior when interacting with others, no cyberbullying, to respect the opinions and ideas of others, to obey all intellectual property laws of media and copyright, to do not use or share others' work without permission, to follow rules and or codes of conduct for every internet site or digital community on the internet, and to report cyberbullying, threats, and inappropriate use of digital resources. Keeping these points in mind, let me now move on to the second key point of my presentation. Why do we teach digital citizenship and how do we teach it? We know about what digital citizenship is, key digital rights and responsibilities. Let's turn our attention to why we teach digital citizenship and how we can teach digital citizenship. Let's start with why we teach digital citizenship. The various topics and threats technology tools pose are important to teach the students to ensure their safety and protection. Most students today are digital natives, which means they already understand the use of technology and day-to-day life, sometimes better than us. However, that does not mean they have a mature understanding of its scope and the potential impact of negative use. They still need guidance on using it responsibly. For example, they may not know how to vet sources or understand the sensitivity of the information they're sharing online. A good time to teach digital citizenship is before introducing a new form of technology in the classroom, before a research project, or anytime technology and the internet is used for an activity or assignment. Teach students about the credibility and reliability of the information, as well as helpful tips to confidently disregard inaccurate or unnecessary information. With the rise of technology in the classroom, there are only more and more opportunities to incorporate digital citizenship into a few lessons. How are we teaching it? To begin thinking of digital citizenship, think about the principles that you are already teaching young students on how to be a good citizen. Knowing right from wrong, not talking to strangers, understanding the consequences of their actions, and playing fair. Then, generate ideas to teach digital citizenship. There are many great topics, themes, and subjects you can teach students on how to be a good digital citizen. To help you get started, ClassPoint.io suggests the following guide on how and what to teach for digital citizenship as follows. Teach 9 P's of digital citizenship. Teach 9 elements of digital citizenship and use applicable lessons and activities. Teach the 9 P's of digital citizenship. These topics, from reinventing writing, a novel by V.P. Davis, is a brilliant list that covers some of the most important and dangerous digital topics. The 9 Ps. P1. Passwords. Teach students how to create a secure password. Let them understand that email and online banking should have a higher level of security and never use the same passwords as other sites. Ensure students know to create a unique, secure password. P2. Private information. Teach students how to protect their private information like address, email, and phone number. P3. Personal information. While this information can be used to identify the students, they need to choose who they will share it with: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, among others. Information that will not identify a student but is still personal to them. For example, how many siblings they have, parents, their first jobs or cars, and others. P4. Photos. Are students aware that some private things may show up in photographs and that they may not want to post those pictures? Though they know how to turn off a geotagging feature. Tell students to be observant of the location-based identifiers, street signs, house, license plates, and others that are in photos before posting them on the internet. P5. Property. Do students understand copyright, Creative Commons, and how to generate a license for their own work? Though they respect intellectual property rights of those who create it. P6. Permission. Teach students how to ask permission for work they want to use and how to cite sources. P7. Protection. Teach students about viruses, malware, phishing, ransomware, and identity theft, and how do these things work. P8. Professionalism. Do students understand the professionalism of academics versus decisions about how they will interact in their social lives? Do they know about etiquette, online grammar, and cultural taboos, and how to behave and interact with others when online? And P9. Personal brand. Have students decided about their voice and how they want to be perceived online? Though they realize they have a digital tattoo that is almost impossible to erase, this is a digital tattoo. Everything you do on the internet stays with you forever. Teach the 9 elements of digital citizenship. These elements cover the main aspects that students will experience while interacting with the digital world. 1. Digital access. Keep in mind when teaching that not all students have the same access to technology. Alternatives may need to be provided. In addition, teaching students that accessibility to technological devices is not equal for everyone can keep them aware and understand of those around them. 2. Digital literacy. With so many contributors to different parts of the internet, differentiating between real and fake content is a necessity. Not everything on the internet is true. So teaching students the best practices for finding the real information will help them not only become informed citizens, but help in their education too. 3. Digital security. Students must understand the implications of weak and strong security on their information, explain the consequences, proactive ways to avoid breaches or hackers, and how to identify and avoid risky signs and behaviors. 4. Digital commerce. Buying and selling online is easier and quicker than doing it in person. Teaching students about online financial safety is a must as they grow up in this digital age. 5. digital etiquette. Similar to real-life etiquette, students must know how to appropriately and responsibly behave in using the internet, technology, and other digital platforms. 6. Rights and responsibilities. Students need to understand that they can be held accountable for their actions and deeds in the online world. The internet is not anonymous. Today, students' digital self is an extension of who they are, and they should be intentional about how they should show up or build relationships on the internet. 7. Digital health and wellness. What is done, read, watched, or listened to in the digital world can and will impact the real world, especially regarding students' health and wellness. Teaching students to take care of themselves, set healthy boundaries and expectations, and use the digital world in non-detrimental ways is incredibly important for their well-being and their future. The elements of physical and psychological well-being related to digital technology use must be observed. 8. Digital law. It is important for students to understand the different rules, regulations, and laws that surround the digital world, from unlawful behaviors that have bigger consequences like identity theft to identifying smaller rules such as downloading music illegally. Students must be aware of unacceptable actions as well as when to identify this happening in front of them. And 9. Digital communication. For some, it is easier to communicate behind a screen, whether or not it is helpful or hurtful. Teaching students to react appropriately online, be aware of what is being said, and realize that anyone can say anything, and how to react to what they are reading or hearing is very important. And use applicable lessons and activities. Teaching digital citizenship can be a slow process since there is so much to cover. Maybe you want to add it to your curriculum and cover it all at once. Or maybe you want to sprinkle the list of topics into one lesson or theme a day. Regardless of when you teach it or how long it may take, providing students with examples and opportunities to put it into practice will help them relate to and understand the full scope of digital citizenship. Here are some activities you can use in your classroom to teach digital citizenship. 1. Experience and relating. 2. Common internet scam student presentations. 3. Public service announcement project. And 4. Interactive questions in presentations. Experience and relating. Along with your topic or lesson of the day, provide a chance for students to experience and relate to it. For example, you could have students join a collaborative learning community like a global budget board or Flipgrid to see, hear, and discuss with another classroom or students from around the globe. When the students are getting in touch and communicating with one another, they must use the right digital language to understand each other, as not everyone shares the same texting, typing shorthand. Student presentations, common internet scam. As a teacher, you can create a list of the most common scams that appear on the internet. Assign or have students choose a scam to give a mini on-one presentation. They can share with the class about the scam and ways to identify signs and prevent it from happening. This way to learn about it and know how to protect themselves and recognize the threats in the future. Public service announcement project. Another activity or project idea is having students create an advertisement or PSA announcement on a certain digital citizenship topic. This is a great place to integrate different edtech tools and encourage students' creativity. They can choose a platform that best helps them share information and get their idea across. For example, they could create designs and infographics with Canva or use video tools like Animoto or Flipgrid for a different kind of presentation. And interactive questions in presentations. Whether you spend an entire lesson going through all the digital citizen elements or have one theme of the day, you can include one or a few interactive questions to get students more engaged and involved with the lesson. You don't just want to share information, you want your students to engage with the concept and demonstrate their understanding. After discussing the content and how to teach digital citizenship, let's move on to the presentation's final key point. What are the essential tips to enhance digital citizenship? Essential tips to enhance digital citizenship from the Go Guardian team 2020 include address disadvantaged learners. Students with special needs and those from low socioeconomic status may lack the necessary digital resources. Ensure that your planning addresses these differences and provides equal in-class opportunities for technology access. Make students aware of targeted online advertising. Online advertisers cleverly market to children so they can prompt their parents. Train your students to identify the differences between a website with eligible information versus one selling products. Train children to be critics. Instill general knowledge so that students can distinguish between legitimate and illegitimate websites. Teach them the questions to ask themselves when verifying the authenticity of a site. Introduce your students to social media at an early age. The ability to navigate and use social media safely is one of the best examples of digital literacy. According to experts, it is best to explain to students what social media is and establish rules and best practices of social media activities early. Teach children to control what they share online. When you teach students about controlling the information they share online, you are promoting digital literacy. Train them about what, who, and which sites to avoid, and how their digital footprint produces consequences that affect their futures. Emphasize student safety when communicating online. Social media like Facebook and Instagram creates an open space in which students are likely to interact with strangers. Teach them how to establish boundaries with strangers and how to be careful. Also train them on what to do if they feel uncomfortable. Remind students that there is always a person behind every screen. The thrill of being online can quickly cause students to forget that other users are online. Don't let them forget how online avatars belong to other people whenever they post anything online or get involved in a multiplayer game. Digital etiquette requires students to treat all online users with respect as one would in an in-person environment. Define when it is or is not right to use technology. Digital media has many advantages, especially when technology tools are involved. Unfortunately, it is not intended for all-around use. Define the most appropriate times to use some devices by giving students situation-based examples. Train them to be responsible and to recognize when they should put away their technology. Teach students about internet addiction. It might not be categorized as a disorder, but spending too much time on the internet comes with adverse effects. Teachers must ensure students understand the dangers of internet addiction by explaining the need for moderation when using digital media. Use tracking tools such as iPhone screen time feature to make it easier. Make students aware of the physical effects of excessive screen time. In addition to learning about internet addiction, students must realize what they are subjecting themselves to when they spend too much time on their screens. Advise them accordingly and teach them the consequences, including headaches, eye strain, low self-esteem, stress, and depression. Encourage students to report cyberbullying. In most cases, students may fail to report cyberbullying cases because they do not know who to tell or are afraid of being punished. Share the benefits of reporting to teachers or parents. Take it upon yourself to look for warning signs to identify possible bullies and victims. Avail interactive internet security programs. Even as you train your students about internet safety, present relevant information and resources that help them learn responsible online habits. Provide guidelines for internet safety and train them on how to secure their accounts. This saves students from generating strong passwords to logging out from their accounts when using public computers, and be a good digital citizen. In today's age of digital learning, it is the collective responsibility of educators and parents to understand the value of teaching digital citizenship at all grade levels. By using these tips and technology tools, you can easily prepare your students to be good digital citizens. I have just presented to you topic 20, digital citizenship for students. I hope you have captured new insights that might be useful to enhance your students' digital citizenship. I would like to wrap up my presentation with a few thoughts. By teaching students to become good digital citizens in school, we can help to build a generation filled with the skills, knowledge, and understanding to succeed as upstanding citizens and learners. Principles that are already being taught to students how to be good citizens can be used to begin the conversations on how to be a good digital citizen. The 9 P's of digital citizenship are a good starting point to cover some of the most important and dangerous digital topics for students. Then a deeper dive into more specific 9 elements of digital citizenship allows students to understand better the digital society and take part appropriately and responsibly when interacting the digital world. Then add in examples and opportunities throughout your lessons to allow students to relate to and understand the full scope of digital citizenship. Empower your students to fully participate in a digital society as active, informed, and engaged citizens. Teach them to be good digital citizens. Thank you for your participation.
We have just listened to the video recorded on topic 20, digital citizenship for students. Thank you, Ms. Chow, for taking the initiative. And I am feeling good now that I am back, and thanks to the IT for doing it possible. As mentioned already, I was reading on the chat box that we're going first to consider some inputs and questions that are found in the chat box about culturally relevant teaching, then move on to topic 20, digital citizenship for students. And I'd like to start saying that I probably have answered the first question. It's not the first question, but it's about really the difficulty of teaching using English language in the higher levels. Again, that would now depend on the teacher's initiative and creativity and resourcefulness and innovation to be able to make learning, teaching learning process to students meaningful and effective using the English language. And we also have here from Regina Rose Redor. Yeah, I agree with you too that the 3Cs is very important in the teaching learning process of the students. So you mean here the culture, community, and curriculum. So they are so intertwined, they are so related. That really, if you would like our students to achieve excellence, academic success, because academic success is the focus, the center of culturally relevant teaching. And we also have here from Alfie Ruwa Akana. The tips are very useful here in the Philippines setting, especially that we have indigenous people enrolled in some schools. Thank you. Thank you. However, adjustments have to be made because mother tongue-based instruction is no longer used in the higher level. I definitely agree with you. So I guess with that in mind, there will be lots of preparation on the part of the teachers, really making teaching learning process more effective and meaningful. Lots of preparation because you know already the limitation, especially in terms of language, between the mother tongue and the English language. There must be lots of adjustments. And then here from Henry Tura, at least in the Philippines, culturally relevant teaching have been gaining ground in basic education level with the implementation of the mother tongue-based multilingual education in the early grades, and the indigenous people's education program. I am a little bit worried in the post-secondary level because I observe there have been no or little efforts made to this effect. So I guess what you are referring here is about the use of culturally relevant teaching in the secondary education, or especially in the post-secondary, maybe like in the baccalaureate degree and up-level education. That's really a very challenging phenomenon that we are observing and in fact experiencing at this moment in time. But I am really very happy and to know that basic education is doing well along with that. It is because the basic education is the foundation. It is the ground, forming students to become who they are in the future. Though I suppose in the post-secondary education, they would as well incorporate, the culture, the needs and other things about cultural relative teaching. Because after all, we are wanting our students to be able to really learn and connect, what is happening, what we are teaching inside the classroom to outside. They will be able to use and apply the teachings that are happening inside the classroom to make that teachings realistic and therefore meaningful, informing our students to become good citizens, good students, able to contribute for the betterment of the society. And we have here from Emmanuel Yap. I totally agree with you, Mom. It's all in the hands of the teacher. I guess this has to do about the difficulty in teaching higher level education using English instruction, where they will be taught in mother tongue, in basic education, in the primary grades. Yeah, and I really definitely agree with you too. Thank you for your insights and input. And now we have here from Dr. Marites B. Cruz. Is it necessary to use as basis of teaching learning success on the standards set by other nation. Like we have the PISA. This is Program for International Student Assessment. I guess you're referring that. What I have in mind then, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're referring here is the culturally relevant teaching. Would it be necessary to use as basis of teaching learning success on the standard set by other nation, specifically the PISA? I would say it helps a lot, and it really contributes to the teaching learning process of the students. It is because the teacher here can relate to students' needs, students' interests, and students' backgrounds, and of course, their level of competency. And from there, the teachers will bring up the students, will lift the students to the standards set by this program for international student assessment, for example, or national, international assessments, I would say. Students will be able to be more equipped because the teachers could help them to lift up. Why? Because teachers know the background of the students. Teachers know where the students are and use that as instruments to help them understand better what is being discussed in the class. And of course, without jeopardizing the standards set by the international assessments, for instance. And we have here from Eileen. In my school in Malaysia, we have just starting enforcing on-site attendance in physical classes. Some students who have been learning through home-based mode since 12 months ago, like May 2021, have also developed a new learning culture, which I definitely agree, that is different from the usual cultures we often talk about. This new learning culture also needs to be addressed, which is what some of my teachers are facing and what I'm helping them to deal with. Thank you so much for sharing your concern and the concern of your school and your teachers in your school, in your context. And I'm very happy that you are really helping them. And definitely, this is a big challenge for teachers as well as students. They come from home-based instruction, home-based teaching, which is quite different. They have their own time, they have their own schedule, and they are working alone. They have no peers. Some students find it quite difficult to connect once again to the group, to students and to teachers. And the kind of learning, the teaching may be another, because they're used to that. Like for 1 year, they have been isolated in their own learning process. And now when they're open to the classes now, physical presence in the class, that could really be a new challenge, a new culture to address. And I guess the community of teachers can sit down and talk about this, find ways on how to make this new culture meaningful and effective. Both the part of the teachers and the students, both have the struggle. So there will be, time to meet in the group and discuss and find ways to address this concern. Okay, we have again from Miss Ike Hein. I'm sorry if I won't pronounce your name correctly. Thanks for your 9 Ps and 9 elements of digital citizenship. In Myanmar, internet addiction and games are very dangerous ones for basic education students. I definitely agree with you. Students, especially small kids, and even higher, middle class, middle, high school, senior, and higher up, are really having challenge using internet. And we observe that the addiction is very common and popular. And here then the teacher would come and help the students address this concern, because we adults know how dangerous it is. Not to mention about the cyberbullying happening online. And I hope the 9 Ps and the 9 elements would really do work effectively. And there will be some adjustments in teaching them based on your context and the learners you have. From Mr. Emmanuel Yap, it saddened me to hear NC teachers ranting on Facebook and other social media. This presentation is all okay. Yeah, I join you in that. It seems that social media become the journal of some people out there. They would just write anything what comes to mind and shout and cry and do many things. Sometimes gossips, and bad rumors and all, which would not be supposed to be the right place. I hope that people out there will be educated to use the social media, especially the Facebook. And this could be an example that we can use to our students to teach them how to be responsible in using technology, in using social media. Because, see, social media is a public-owned media. And we are affecting thousands of people, millions of people using that media. And we see when we talk online, we think of talking a person in person. So it is not a place where we do things you would like to do simply to put that person down or to revenge or avenge that person. Again, as I said, we will teach our students not to do so. Okay, so you have here, thank you for the informative presentation. Thank you to Nantay for your acknowledgement. And Andres Matilla, thank you very much, Dr. Robina. Thank you. And thank you for the information from Sabay. And from Mark John Banday, thank you for well-articulated presentation. Thank you also for acknowledging. From Maria Fe de Catoria, thank you so much for this information about digital citizenship. A lot of things to share to my teachers for the students to be good digital citizenship. Thank you too for acknowledging and for using the presentation to enhance your students' digital citizenship. Okay, Greg Australia, thank you very much, and thank you for your presentation, Ms. Pio, and here from Kentan Win. Thank you. Good information for me. I'm learning a lot. I would like to know from how old we should give digital literacy in school. How could we reduce the risk of digital bullying and threat effectively? Okay, now first question is, how old we should give digital literacy in school. I would say from, if you could, the moment the students use the internet and technology, that would be the best time to teach them on digital citizenship. And it's good to teach students earlier about digital citizenship. Say, for example, primary levels, like grade 1, you can start teaching digital citizenship in the language that your learners understand, in the language that your learners need. And we can then advance teaching digital citizenship as the students grow old and stepping up the high level of education, or the next ladder of education. So we can teach digital citizenship one after the other, depending on the level of our learners' education. The point is that they are using technology in some ways, maybe playing games and whatever will it be. That's nice, and that's quite critical to start using them at an early age. That's according to experts. But then adjust your teaching to the level of your learners, depending, as I said, on their needs and the extent they are using the internet, the social media, and the games. And as the next question is, how could we reduce the risk of digital bullying and threat effectively? That's quite interesting question. How could we reduce the risk? I guess we can do it by giving them like situation-based examples. Give them examples, show them the video. You can identify different forms of cyberbullying online, and then make them use them to teach your students the danger of cyberbullying and the risk, of cyberbullying. It would be really very, I would say, effective if we use the situation-based examples, real examples happening out there, so students can relate. Or you can also ask students from their experiences. That could also be the best examples to help students, appreciate the responsibility of using social media and technology. Okay, and then we have here this presentation. Oh, thank you so much for this, Alfiroa Okana, for your comments. So I have to cascade this one to my teachers. Thank you. Then I ask, that will be given, by Miss Chow, Miss Richie Piroy. So we have here from Andres L. Matila. Can it be possible that digital citizenship be included as one of the learning competencies in some specified subjects? I would say yes. This is very relevant, and this is the need of time. Our students are using internet, are using technology, are using social media, and they should be educated on how to use it appropriately and responsibly. Because we are forming students to become, upstanding citizens of the country. So it is just but fitting to include digital citizenship in the learning competencies in some subjects. Okay, welcome, Miss, I don't know, but Jeffel Fabillar and Mo Sabay. Okay. Okay, so you know, you are interested to know digital laws. I guess we can find that online. I cannot give you that now, but I can share you the online link for that later. And we have here from Alfie Rua Okana. I am with you in this. Okay, this is now a kind of a joining in. Children nowadays are so exposed to social media and they need to be properly guided and educated. Thank you for that support. And definitely, yes, they are. They need to be educated users of social media. We can see many people out there are not yet educated. And I observed that even teachers, I'm so sorry to tell this, but I could see some teachers are using social media to run their anger and other things. We all need to be educated to be responsible users of social media and technology. Okay. Mhm. So we still have here another joining in, and thank you for that. Our students are all digital learners. Mhm. And we have here from Oy Eileen. Thank you for your comments. We are working with the students' parents to address this issue. That's quite good. And you are doing great. Digital citizenship is not just the role of the teacher, but really importantly, it is a collective role of teachers and parents and community to educate children to become educated users of social media. Okay. And so we have here from Mo C. I do believe that the future of education should be a hybrid of conventional and online classroom teaching and learning strategies. Yes, you're right. Definitely, digital citizenship is very important for all the educators to know, understand, and apply. Thank you so much for your insight and for your comments. I definitely agree with you that hybrid teaching and learning is now popular all over the world. Why? Because I would say the COVID-19 pandemic has made it possible. Like here in Vietnam, for example, some educational institutions are using hybrid teaching and learning because there are still students who cannot come to class due to pandemic condition, due to virus and other things. So the school is providing both the students on site who can present, who can come to the class, and those students who are off site, who are at their home, to have teaching happen in one class at one time. And this will continue. I agree with you. This will continue after pandemic, in the post-pandemic education. So then it is really necessary that we teach our students to become good digital users. Digital citizenship is very critical. Thank you for that insight, Mosi. Okay, so And yes, I agree with you that not only the students, but as educators as well. We educators should be educated to use digital devices, technology, and social media. So thank you so much. I guess I have given some thoughts and have given ideas about some comments and questions that you have put in the chat box. So is there other question do we have now, Ms. Chow?
I believe that's all the questions from our participants given in the chat box.
Okay, thank you so much. And so at this point in time, we are going to close our online lecture. And again, I hope that you have really given much time and consideration to our presentation today. The fact is that there is this internet disconnection and that you are still with us. Thank you so much. And also thank you for your insights and inputs and questions you have shared with us during these two presentations. They are really very thought-provoking and very informative. And thank you for your thoughts and for your time and effort. And at this point in time, I guess Ms. Chow has already given you some things in the chat box. And again, we look forward to your attendance during the next sessions that we will be having. Thank you so much for being with us up to this time.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Anita, and thank you to all our participants for your very active participations in today's section. So before we close our session today, I would like to remind you with some important notes. First, please complete the assignment on the 2 Google Forms before Monday, May the 9th, and your assignment will be subjected to evaluation before we issue you the certificate of completion. Second, your name on the assignment will be the one used in your certificate, so please make sure to input it correctly. Finally, we have shared in the chat box the links for assignments and PPTs of today. Kindly download them and save them to your window. We will send you the links again, and we will upload the links onto our modular online program website. And you can see the link in the chat box. Kindly visit this link and we will have all the materials for all our sections as well as the assignment links. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We appreciate you being here a lot. Kindly share this free program with your colleagues and network so that it can make a greater impact on regional education. We look forward to meeting you again, and goodbye for now. Thank you very much.
For a while, Ma'am Chow.
Yes.
Do we have still meeting this afternoon or the next na siya? May 27?
For every month, we will have a session in the morning of the final Friday of each month.
Okay.
So our next section will be in May. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All that which topic inclusive education classroom, right? We will be back again on May, right?
Yes, we will be back again on May the 27th with 2 next topics from the classroom management module.
Okay, so look interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing back again because right now I'm working at special education center. I quite interested the topic. Okay, thank you so much for today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Ma'am Chow, for a while.
Yes.
Is still Ma'am Dr. Obina be our speaker for the next session, May 27?
Yes, Dr. Anita will continue to be our trainer for our section on May and June also.
Okay, for record lang po, is she from Philippines or Vietnam?
Yes, Dr. Anita is from the Philippines.
Hi, hello ma'am, Dr. Oblina. Thank you very much, Dr. Oblina.
Yes, thank you very much.
See you soon.
Yes, we'll see you all in next month. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Rồi, thì tôi nói vừa phải liền. Thật sự là Simon.